In this screencast, we'll show you how to add tabs to your data and better organize your data for the project. We show you how to format text, how to sort, and how to delete data. To begin with, let's talk about how to add tabs. So an Excel workbook, initially the data you get will just contain this single sheet, but you can add more sheets to your workbook by clicking this little plus icon down here. So if we click the plus icon, and then we get a new sheet, a blank sheet here. We can call that whatever we want. We could call it second sheet, for instance. We can add more of these. Might come up with better names. Oops, typed in the wrong spot there. Okay. You'll find as you go through the project, especially with instant runoff voting, that you might want to show different things on different sheets. If you've got data from one sheet that you'd like to copy and move to another sheet, you can select all of your data by clicking this little diamond, then right-clicking, go to Copy, and if you go to the second sheet, click in the first cell, right-click and choose Paste. That will copy all of your data from the first sheet to the second sheet. And you can continue that and copy to the third sheet and so on. That can be a convenient way to show several steps with your data. Now we should talk about how to format text. Let's come back to the first sheet here. And suppose I want to type some text in a cell, like this is the first sheet. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can clearly see what I'm doing here. If we select that cell and right-click on it, come down here to Format Cells, we get a dialog box which lets us pick lots of different things out about that cell. For instance, we can change the font. You might prefer a slightly different font than the default. You can change the size of the font. You can even pick a different border for that cell or a background pattern, for instance. And then down at the bottom here, you can choose OK. And you see that that made a big difference in how the cell looked. I'm not necessarily advocating yellow text, but this can help to make your spreadsheet look a little bit nicer. Next, we should talk about how to sort your data. The first thing to do if you want to sort some data is tell Excel what data it is you have to sort. So you can select the data by clicking on the first column and dragging across to the other column. And if you come up here to Data, Sort, we've added a header row. So down here at the bottom, you'll want to choose the option that says My List has a header row. And then you can choose how to sort. So you might prefer, for instance, to sort by the first column, your first preference, in ascending order. That means it'll put all the A's first and then all the B's and so on in the first column. Of course, the situation arises what to do if there's ties. So suppose two different rows have the first column of A. Well, then you could decide, for instance, to sort by the second column. And if there were a tie in that column, then you could decide to sort by the third column and so on. So this will put all the records with AAA above AAB, and so on. Let's click OK, and we'll see what happens to the data. Okay, and so you notice, we're going to scroll down through this data, you notice that all of the A's or AAAs are grouped together. Whoops, scrolled the wrong direction, sorry. All of the AAAs are grouped together, and there's lots of them. And then after many, many records here, we should see an AA, whoops, blew right past it there. We saw a few AABs, not many of those, and then an AAC, D, and so on. I'm going to go up to the beginning by dragging my little scroll bar up to the top. One of the things you'll notice about the data is that I mentioned that there were 28,000 or so rows. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, it'll be a little difficult to see that now because the last several thousand records are actually blanks. You see, for instance, right here, here's people who put blank DD, for instance, as their vote. You might find it convenient to delete some of those blanks. There's lots of ways to do that. Let's talk about deleting some records now. If you select a big group of items, like this group of items, and then right-click on that and go to Delete. If what you want to do is to shift all of this data over to the left so that these A's become the voter's first preference, you want to choose Shift Cells Left. Click OK. And that's shifted the data left. You should find that helpful with instant runoff voting. So we've covered the basics of adding tabs to your worksheet, copying data, formatting text, sorting the data, seeing how the blanks appear in your data, and how to delete data.